Today I have the pleasure of speaking to the hardest working managing director in the rare earth sector, George Bauk. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Tracy. How are you?
I'm very good, and I'm just going to start with the fact that you've had, what, 5 news releases here in less than in the last 2 months. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We just keep putting it out there, and it's been a fantastic last quarter to add to the last 3 to 4 years of great progress at Northern Minerals.
Well, I think the nugget in all of these news releases, of course, are the advancements in the Browns project. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Tracy. They're the real highlights of the recent news flow at Northern Minerals. In the June quarter, we started off with signing the coexistence agreement with our native title group. So it usually takes a year, which really has allowed us to get the mining license granted and heading towards having a licensed mining project.
Of course, I'm just going to draw you back to almost the week before when you put out your hydrometallurgical pilot plant testing announcement that you put out. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
If you go back to 2010, we did some cider work on the Browns Range project with some rock chips, and we had some really outstanding early results with our beneficiation process. You know, advanced 4 years forward, and we're getting remarkable results through the hydrometallurgy test work being done at ANSTO. That's showing that we're getting about 90% recovery through the hydrometallurgical process, which it comes back to the host rock. And that's what we're really blessed with at Northern Minerals. You know, our heavy rare earths are within xenotime, and the xenotime is contained within a very simple host rock, which is largely quartz. And that's what's really driven and given Northern Minerals the ability to develop a really outstanding flow sheet with high recoveries and produce a really outstanding final product.
Okay, and was it just me, or you also had another news release before that one where you rejected an acquisition of actually, what do I have here? You did a withdrawal from the 16% sale of Browns Range, and your stock moved up 29% immediately. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, look, again, Tracy, if we go back to January 2013, we announced a $50 million funding package, and that was all about securing the funding required to take this project from where we were in at the end of 2012, with about 10 million kilos of JORC resource, and try to get that to a decent mine life, plus complete pre-feasibility, feasibility. That package included part sale of the Browns Range project. Now, moving on 15 to 18 months later, we realised that as we're getting closer to needing the large capex to build this project, it was better for Northern Minerals to have 100% ownership of the project. So Chonglin Yue, who was involved in that transaction, our major shareholder and chairman, withdrew from that, realising that it was better for Northern Minerals to go to the market looking for the capital to build the project with 100% ownership. So it allows us maximum flexibility to look at how we fund this project going forward, instead of having 84% of the project owned and a bit more complexity with financiers.
Okay, so once Northern Minerals then secured your native title agreement, then you got your the week after you got your mining lease. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, look, to really put timelines on that, Tracy, we submitted our native title agreement to the Department of Minerals and Energy in WA on the Monday morning, and we were granted the mining lease at 3 o'clock on the Tuesday afternoon. So within 48 hours, we'd received our mining license. So, you know, amazing.
Okay, well, if that's not enough for your shareholders who are trying to keep up with this story, the week after, you then put out your positive pre-feasibility study, which also increased the value and technical strength for the Browns Range project. Okay, please give us a couple of lines on this particular update.
Yeah, Tracy, that was a real milestone for the company, because for a long time we've been talking to the market about you know, the exciting mineralisation and the host rock and you know, the dysprosium, etc. The PFS now allows Northern Minerals to discuss and talk about what our planned production profile is going to be like, what are the economics, deliverables, costs, and everything like that. So what the market's been able to see is that We're planning to produce 3 million kilos of TREO, including 280,000 kilos of dysprosium per annum. We've got a capex of $314 million, which includes contingency and EPCM. So that's the total package at PFS level to bring this project into production. Which that capex number is, I think, an outstanding number in comparison to many peers in the industry, if you like. The economics, we show a very positive MPV, as well as a very short payback period. So really solid, sound economics.
Okay, and then it was just last week or perhaps the week before that you just announced a $6 million funding facility. Is that correct?
Well, this wonderful run of news flow wouldn't happen if we didn't have money. So we've made sure that we've had plenty of money in the pipeline, Tracy, so that we can keep pumping out these outstanding results by Northern Minerals. And like all these things, if you don't have money, you have to slow process down. And a lot of small caps have been in that situation in recent times with difficult equity markets, if you like. Well, this funding that came through last week was really something a bit different, where in Australia we get an R&D rebate, which is a cash rebate for recognising work in this area. And we have Macquarie Bank are happy to loan against that. So we've been able to bring forward that capital into the company to really make sure that we can continue heading towards our feasibility study at the end of the year.
Okay, and so I was talking to Jack Lifton earlier today, and we were discussing the race towards production. And of course, we've had a lot of debate on InvestorIntel about processing techniques. And if you don't have a processing plan of action, you're really not going to make it. And of course, your timeline is 2016 for production of dysprosium, yttrium, and terbium, yes?
That's correct.
Okay, so you can talk to our audience about your processing plan of action.
Okay, so if we look at our timeline to production, which plans to be in production in 2016, in the third quarter, if we work our way back, by the end of this year, we plan to have a licensed project. We plan to have a feasibility study in place, and in the first quarter next year, a decision to proceed, which includes assessing funding options. So right now, one of the big tasks we've got is to look for the funding to get the project up and running. Post that, we look at starting capital works in the second quarter of 2015, which will include some public road upgrades, which will include basic infrastructure at site. And in the third quarter 2015, which will be when we start getting our large capital items arrive at site, where we start serious construction of the beneficiation, hydromet, and all the ancillary facilities like the camp, the power station, the water, the bore fields, and so forth. So that will then take us through to the second quarter of 2016, where we begin commissioning, and then into production in the third quarter 2016.
Well, George, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem. Thanks, Tracy.